If you had the first overall pick tonight, are you taking Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan Robinson, or one of the elite wide receivers? The first pick feels like the easiest slot in the draft, but it carries one brutal rule. Every other manager gets 2 chances before you pick again. So this decision cannot be based on a highlight reel or one expert list. We are comparing the current full PPR market, last season's production, the latest 2026 projections, and the role changes that create floor and ceiling. At the end, I will give you one name for the 101 and the exact league settings that could change the answer. Here is the league we are solving. 12 teams, full PPR, 1 quarterback, redraft. Superflex is a different video because a quarterback can become the correct first pick. Our finalist pool is the union of the current top 5 from Fantasy Pros PPR average draft position, Fantasy Pros expert consensus, and NBC Sports. That gives us Gibbs, Bijan, Ja'Marr Chase, Puka Nacua, and Jackson Smith-Njigba. The score puts 50% on the current 2026 projection, 25% on last year's points per game, 15% on the average market rank, and 10% on games played. It is a tiebreaker, not a promise. The market does not give us a unanimous answer. Fantasy Pros PPR draft data has Gibbs first with a 1.3 average pick and Bijan second at 1.8. NBC also ranks Gibbs first and Bijan second. But the Fantasy Pros expert consensus flips toward wide receiver. Ja'Marr Chase first, Puka second, Bijan third, and Gibbs fourth across 71 experts, updated July 29th. That disagreement matters. It says the top tier is real, but the method changes the winner. Draft rooms are paying for Gibbs and Bijan. Expert rankers are paying for the weekly reception floor at wide receiver. We need to decide which signal best fits the 101. Puka and Chase have legitimate first-pick cases. Puka led this finalist group last year with 375 PPR points and 23.4 per game. He caught 129 passes for 1,715 yards and 10 touchdowns in 16 games. Chase drew 185 targets, caught 125 balls, and owns the current expert consensus top spot. If your league starts 3 wide receivers plus multiple flexes, that stability becomes even more valuable. The pushback is the forward projection. Fantasy Pros currently has Puka at 339.8 and Chase at 335.5. More than 30 points below the top 2 running backs. Bijan Robinson is the safest answer if you want volume you can see from every angle. In 2025, he handled 287 carries for 1,478 yards, then added 103 targets, 79 receptions, and 820 receiving yards. That is 2,298 yards from scrimmage with 11 total touchdowns. He scored 370.8 PPR points and 21.8 per game. The 2026 projection barely moves, 369.9 points, nearly 290 carries, and about 80 catches. Bijan's argument is simple. The role is already complete, the receiving floor is elite, and he needs fewer touchdown assumptions than almost anyone at the position. Jahmyr Gibbs answers with efficiency and scoring. Last season, he carried 243 times for 1,223 yards, 5 yards per carry, then caught 77 of 94 targets for 616 yards. Add 13 rushing touchdowns and 5 receiving scores, and you get 18 total touchdowns, 366.9 PPR points, and 21.6 per game. Now the 2026 consensus projection puts him first in this group at 372.5 points. It calls for more than 1,380 rushing yards, about 71 catches, and nearly 18 total touchdowns. Gibbs does not need Bijan's raw carry count if each touch continues to create more explosive scoring opportunities. The deciding evidence is not just last year's box score. NBC Sports reports that Dan Campbell says Gibbs enters 2026 as Detroit's bell cow. NBC tracked a clear late-season shift. Gibbs moved from a 56.3% positional touch share in weeks 1 through 10 to 71.4% from weeks 11 through 18. During that late stretch, he produced as the overall PPR RB2. That is the role expansion we normally have to guess about. But here we can point to both the coach's description and the usage trend. There is still offensive line change, and a new season always brings uncertainty, but the path to more volume is visible rather than hypothetical. When the 4 inputs are normalized across the 5 finalists, Gibbs scores 88.2 and Bijan scores 85.1. That margin is small on purpose. Gibbs gets the top projection, the best average market rank, 17 games of availability, and the strongest late-season role signal. Bijan wins the raw workload argument and beat Gibbs by 0.2 of a point per game last season. Puka wins the recent points per game category, but gives back ground in the current projection. One late-breaking risk matters equally. As of July 29th, Gibbs and Bijan are both present at camp, but not practicing while seeking new contracts. Neither is reported injured, but if either hold-in becomes prolonged, revisit this board immediately. Touchdown regression or Detroit line problems can also pull Gibbs back. If you value touches over efficiency, Bijan is completely defensible. But today, in this exact format, the full package still leans Gibbs. My first overall pick in a 12-team, full PPR, one-quarterback redraft is Jahmyr Gibbs. The edge over Bijan is narrow, but it is supported by the current number 1 ADP, NBC's number 1 overall rank, the highest consensus point projection among the finalists, back-to-back elite production, and a documented move toward bell cow usage. This verdict is dated July 29th. Monitor both contract hold-ins and revisit the pick if Gibbs or Bijan remains out as your draft approaches. Bijan is my 102 and the safer pivot if Detroit's line or Gibbs's role changes. In a 3-wide receiver league with extra flex spots, Puka or Chase can become the construction play. Who are you taking first overall, Gibbs, Bijan, or a receiver? Put your pick in the comments and subscribe to Fantasy Football Blueprint for the next draft decision.